Hello, this is me modding my keyboard for the first time. I've never done this before, and this is all unscripted while I talk about it while I'm just watching my edit for the first time. So everything I got off of Amazon. I got the cheapo lube kit, I got the cheapo keycaps, which actually turned out to be way better than I expected. Yeah, so pretty much just me going through everything here, all the different parts and everything that it came with. In case anybody was curious, I will link everything that I use down in the description. But yeah, so pretty much just me putting everything together here. There was a clear film wrap kind of hazy thing on there that I left on because I just liked how it looked, but I believe that it is clear if you take that off. So my old keyboard is an Epomaker SK96S with Gateron Brown Optical Switches, and it's a great keyboard, default as it is. Software is horrible, but the keyboard itself is pretty phenomenal, but I did not like the clicky-clacky that it had, so I wanted to make it a little bit better. Now, I know it's not very far into the process already, but by this time I had realized that this was going to be a lot more work than I had originally anticipated. Thinking about lubing your keyboard and actually doing it are two very different ballparks. So yeah, it took me a while from start to finish, probably a total of 8 hours between 2 days. I did get sick in between, so yeah, my keyboard was disgusting. That was absolutely nasty, and I apologize for getting a close-up of that, but yeah, here we are. I did not anticipate was actually how difficult it was to get all of the switches out. I didn't realize that there were two little clips that I had to get the pieces on, so a lot of them ended up getting forced out, which resulted in anytime I want to take my keycaps off now, my switch comes off with some of my keycaps, so that's fun. These are the screwdrivers that I used. I really only ended up using the small Phillips head. I don't know what size it is, and it probably doesn't really matter because it's all different for different keyboards, but this case from Ace, that rhymes, really comes in handy with little projects like this. So when I finally got it apart, I was actually kind of surprised by how small the battery is. I think this keyboard is rated for like a week of battery life or something like that. And with the battery that small, I was kind of surprised. Another thing that surprised me was that the tray that the keys lay on, I don't know what it's called, it was actually made out of metal. I thought it was plastic, and that's where all of the weight of this keyboard was coming from, because it's quite a heavy keyboard for the enclosure being made out of plastic. I thought the battery was going to be larger, and that's where the weight came from. I was completely wrong. There goes my power button. I actually had to take the whole thing apart because I put it all back together and then realized that I forgot the power button. I left that part out. So here I'm taking out the stabilizer bars. I originally had some that I was going to use, but I bought the wrong ones, and then I realized that these ones were probably fine as they were if I just did some tuning with them. So I ended up keeping them. They're all fine except for the space bar. The space bar on the right side still rattles a little bit, and I've tried my darndest to get it to not rattle, and it still does. And you know what? It's fine. I've already spent so much time on this. I'm done with it for now. So this foam that I use is actually just electronic packing foam. It is flame resistant, it is heat resistant, it's not conductive electricity or anything like that. It actually has pretty decent sound absorption properties. I use it for a very cheap sound foam. It's not great, but it works fine, and it was free, so for me at least. So here I just got all the dimples of the screw holes and I started poking them through. This was actually easier than I anticipated. Just took a little bit of time and everything fit together pretty nicely afterwards. Now, I did waste a bunch of time messing around with the wrong stabilizers before I realized they were wrong, so that wasted a lot of time. At this point, I'm about 2 hours into the whole process, and I'm already realizing that I am not going to be finishing this today. And also about this time is when I realized that the sore throat that I had was not just waking up with a sore throat, that I was actually getting sick. About halfway through the whole thing, around 6 o'clock at night, I got super sick. and things started slowing down a bit, and that's when I realized I had to wait until the next day to finish everything. Alrighty, here we are. She's all nice and clean, everything's all doodly daddly dandy, and remembered that power button. So this is just a kind of a before and after showing my lubing process, and you know, I wanted to get a close-up, get that nice bokeh in the background, all that good stuff. I lubed the rails on either side of the bottom of the switch housing. I know they're brown switches. I know that you're not supposed to lube the tactile little copper piece there, but I actually really liked how it felt lubed. Just gives a very, very slight tactile bump. And so I did it. Sue me. Lubing the top part of the switch here, I just did everything. The springs I ended up using a bag for. This is just the first one that I did. Eventually I just threw them all into a bag and shook them around with some lube in there, and that did just fine. I did end up using the little spacers for these switches as well. I just forgot to show that. And here's a sound difference. Old, new.